What is good, YouTube? Quinway basketball analysis coming to y'all this Saturday morning. We're going to talk about the new head coach for the Portland Trailblazers. They got tired of running it back over and over again with Terry Stotts, who I did meet at Summer League. He was a pretty cool dude, and I knew his time will eventually end in Portland because they haven't been able to get over the hump, and the coach is always going to be one of the first people to go. And he left eventually, and he knew he was going to get evaluated. He knew he was in a tough situation, and people felt like the Blazers were supposed to beat the Denver Nuggets, especially because they were shorthanded and handicapped, and they didn't get it done, and they didn't even force a game 7, and it was just a failure of a season. I know they had a lot of injuries to CJ Nurkic and those guys, but you hear it once, you hear it twice, and people just got tired of seeing the same thing happen over and over. They went out of the first round 6 of the last 8 years, and Terry Stotts was a part of all those years, and now they want to start something new, start something fresh. Chauncey Billups, you've been hearing him around for multiple years about interested in a coaching job, interested in a coaching job, but you'll never hear him say he wanted it. You'll never see him really going for it. And to actually see that Chauncey Billups actually got picked up, he was rumored for so many other teams these last couple of weeks, and now he actually is going to be a head coach. And I won't give him a fair chance just because he is a championship point guard that led a tough defensive team. And this team hasn't been known for defense, and that's part of the GM building the team, but it's also part of what they've been doing. And the fact that they got a undersized, unathletic backcourt, and that's been a problem. And Robert Covington really isn't the defender. He's not an all NBA type of defender. He's solid at best, and that's not going to cut it either. If your backcourt isn't good defensively, then your wing isn't good defensively either. And then you have guys that come off the bench isn't really great, or they're undersized too. You really have poor roster construction when it comes to combating the Western Conference. And Terry Stott, to me, squeezed a little bit more out of this team than I thought. I was never really high on Dame. I really wasn't high on the Blazers really ever. And it's interesting for me to see what they try to do now with this team and what they're trying to do with Dame. It seemed like Dame was frustrated. It seemed like he really didn't know if he wanted to stay loyal to Portland. Portland pretty much saying, we hear you. We want to try to work this out. We want to try to get something figured out. You got one of the top players in the world that doesn't mind living there, has shown that he can lead you to the playoff year after year after year, and has shown that he is absolutely amazing at best, and he can really put people in the seats. And do you want to lose that and try to rebuild what you will have to do if you trade him, or do you want to see if you can hire somebody new, change the roster again like they've been doing the last couple years, and try to see if you can, hold on them a little longer and try to build a championship team around them within the next 2 years. So it's going to be a testament to Dame loyalty. Do you really want to keep having the same thing happen over and over again? And that's seeing your heart broke. You're giving all that you have. You're doing all that you can to help this team win, and it's just not enough. But, if he does decide to come back, he wanted to have a voice with his head coach. I was told that he wanted Terry Stotts. He liked playing for him. He liked him as a coach. He liked it, what he did with him and CJ as their duo. And now, they bring in Chauncey, who has just, a lot of unknown with him as a coach. We've seen what he can do, throughout other various careers in the NBA. And it's just going to be something that's going to be fresh. It's going to be a different look team to me. I don't see you bringing back this entire team from last year just under Chauncey Billups. I think that they will play different. I think they will be different. But it just looks like a lot of guys that really are just tired of it. They don't seem happy. They don't seem on the same page, and they really just don't seem like a good fit. A lot of these guys, when you look at the names and you look at what they could do, it makes sense. But they haven't really hit the peak that they wanted to. They made a lot of these moves to improve the roster around Dame and CJ, but they're still stuck in the mud. They haven't really got significantly better. And every time they do make a lot of moves, teams already are better than them or got better than them. So they still haven't really been able to move up in the pecking order in the Western Conference. They've been stationary. And it's unfortunate, but it is win or go home. You got to go all the way in, and I feel like they made a lot of moves, but they haven't really solved the ultimate problem, and that is, do you keep CJ? CJ has been an all-star caliber season at the beginning of this season, but they still was hovering around where they ended, and that's what they usually do. So when CJ playing his best and Dame is at the top of his game, and then you still have a guy like Nurkic out who really seems like he don't want to be there either for what we heard in the press conference, it's a tough situation, especially because CJ was a little beat up. He got toe up this year, and he's going to have to come back different. And then it's kind of crazy, even with CJ, just because he was just in trade talks with Ben Simmons, showing you that they might not be committed to you. They gave you the contract, they liked you a lot, and they feel like he was loyal to the organization. And now you're starting to see that they're trying to, do what's best for them too. And if that happens, you look at them differently and you kind of question their loyalty. And if that happens, eventually you're going to part ways. I have been a big person of break this duo up, and we have seen the last 8 years. This is not a championship duo because you're paying both of these guys almost 200 million, and they're struggling to really get you over the finish line every single year, or you're not even having a really deep playoff run that even makes it worth keeping together. And you can't really afford good supporting cast because you either got to find somebody better than CJ or trade CJ to find somebody that's better than Dame. And if you can't find nobody better than Dame, you definitely have to upgrade over CJ because it hasn't worked the last couple years. So I think a coaching change is something that they needed because obviously Terry Stotts probably was getting a little tired of it too, honestly, because everybody's gonna blame you for it not working, and then it didn't work again, and people gonna look at you, and that's what people did, and you just should get tired of being the black sheep all the time. And at the same time, I look at this team, and I do wonder like what they gonna be when the season starts. They really need to make a dramatic move to really try to cash in with Dame at his peak, or figure out what direction they really need to go in if Dame isn't going to stay. I don't see Dame staying after 2 years. I think he try to see what they do. He gonna push them to the fire and make them make some decisions that can help him bring a championship to Portland. And if it doesn't work, I don't really see him staying loyal. He already showing frustration. He already showing that he's willing to leave, and that's just another step, like I said, with CJ, of it eventually being over. Um, but these guys are getting paid a lot of money, and these guys are under long-term contracts because they signed extensions, and they lose a little wiggle room because of that. But you can get a good haul for Dame. I don't know how much you'll get for CJ because he's not a superstar player, but he is a guy that can shoot the ball real well, play on and off the ball, and that's something that a lot of teams want. But like I said with CJ, do CJ take you to the next level, or do he make you a little bit better? And that's why I feel like they've been stuck for the last 8 years because CJ is not a superstar. He's a great player, but he hasn't really ascended to that next level. And Dame has gotten significantly better, but so has the Western Conference, and that has got them locked in to mediocrity every single year. So they got some tough decisions to make. Their future with Dame and CJ don't look that good right now. And now it's just time to figure out what direction they're going to go in. Having a new coach and a new voice helps. It will change their identity, it will change their play style, and it will change how they approach games. But they need a big shakeup. And he's going to have Chauncey, and Dame is going to have a voice in that. And hopefully they find the right guy and make that right change. But other than that, This is more about the Blazers. I feel like they got a lot more things to figure out besides a coach. And once they figure out where they're gonna go, how they should approach it, and how they should attack it, then Chauncey Billups can start focusing on doing his job. But the way this roster is currently constructed, the way they've been currently playing the last couple years, isn't going to get it. And they haven't even made it to the finals or even won a conference finals game. And with that being said, we got to see what they do with this roster, and then we can see what Chauncey do when it's his time to coach and get this team ready to go for another run to the playoffs this season that's coming up. But I'm not really concerned about Chauncey. I'm not really worried about Chauncey because I'm going to come into this with an open mind, and I really want to give him a fair shot because he hasn't coached once as a head coach in the NBA. But I don't really look at this as Chauncey right now. I just look at this as a team problem that's scattered, and they got to get everything on one page, get everything in order, get everything in the line and on the string. Once they do those small things and figure out what they're really going to do and how this team should be built, then I'd be worried more about Chauncey within the next couple of years if he's the right fit and can he really get this team to the next level. But the roster isn't there yet. The commitment from the players isn't there yet. And those are the problems you have to solve this off season. And then we can see what Chauncey has to work with, and then we can evaluate him after that. Other than that, good night. I'll be back later today with the Suns Clippers game reactions and whatever happens on Saturday. Had to update y'all this. I'll see y'all later. Quinn Wade, Basketball Analysis. I'm go.